Thanks, Kayla. All right, it looks like we have one attendee so far, so hopefully we'll get some others to join, but just in the interest of respecting everyone's time, we're gonna get it started here. So just wanted to introduce the team here today. So I'm Hillary Hansel. I am a landscape architect and park planner with the city. We also have Adam Furco. He's my counterpart, also landscape architect and park planner. And so our role, park planner, we do the larger projects for the park system, everything from the playground improvements we're talking about today to bridges and path replacement. So a wide range of projects. And then we have Kayla Coleman here today as our community engagement specialist. She's helping us work through our new Zoom virtual online platform. So this is new for all of us, so bear with us as we test this out. And then we have Dan Perot. Did I get that right? He's our playground consultant with Michigan Construction. So he's joining us today from a technical standpoint. And it looks like we have a few more attendees joining us, so that's great. I'll leave this just up on the screen for another moment here. All right, so the project team, this is Hillary Hansel talking. And just in a quick agenda overview today, we're going to start out. Kayla, our community engagement specialist, is going to do an overview of this new Zoom technology we're using. We'll touch on just some meeting norms that are pretty standard here at the city. I'll discuss what expectations you'll have for follow-up from us after the meeting. And then we'll do a project overview, talk about schedule. The main thing we're here today to talk to you about is presenting two playground improvement options. So the first option will be more traditional playground equipment. The second option will be looking at more natural playground equipment. Then after that, I want to leave the bulk of the time for questions, comments, discussion, really give anyone an opportunity to talk. And then we'd like to do some project polling, which is really voting, giving you guys a few questions and an opportunity to vote. We'll touch briefly on our Adopt a Park volunteer project or volunteer program, and then we're hoping to wrap up no later than 8 o'clock. So I will pass it over to Kayla to talk about this Zoom technology we're using.
Thanks, Hillary. And thank you all for joining us tonight. As you can see on the screen in front of you, there's some information about the technology that we're using. So currently your microphones are muted. However, we'll have multiple opportunities during this presentation for you to ask questions. And at that time, in order to ask a question, you can raise your hand. So next to your name, there is a raise hand feature. Should be across the bottom or top of your screen, depending on the type of device you're using. And that raise hand feature, once you click it, it will show as a blue hand that shows your hand is raised and will notify me that you have a question that you would like to ask. You can also submit a question in the Q&A window. So that also will be across the bottom of top of your screen, the Q&A. You click that and type your question and submit that. That comes to us as the meeting hosts. And once your question has been answered, the rest of the meeting participants will see it. You can check the box to say that you would like to send your question anonymously if you do not want your name to be associated with that question that you submit. We do not currently have any phone-in callers, but we do have information available. If anyone does join that way, we'll be able to allow them to participate in the Q&A as well. And on to you, Hillary.
Great, thanks.
Meeting norms. I'm happy to cover this one as well. So the meeting norms for this evening that we'd like to operate with will help us ensure that this is an efficient and an effective use of your time. And in order to do so, we will start the meeting on time and end on time. As Hillary said, we'll get you out of here by 8 o'clock. We'll ask that you raise your hand to be recognized to talk. Please move to a quiet area and silence any background noise. So given the Zoom meeting format, sometimes there's some microphone feedback. If you take the, if you have other devices in the area where you're asking your question from. So just move to a quiet area to facilitate that. Speak loudly and clearly so everyone can hear. We'll let everyone have a chance to speak before taking a second question from the same person. With the volume of people we have right now, the size of the group, I think will be just fine. We should be able to get to everyone's questions. We'll ask that you be respectful of everyone's ideas and their perspectives, because there may be a variety of sentiments towards the topics that are being discussed, and just please be respectful. Try to differentiate between I know, which are facts, and I think, which are opinions, and respect others' opinions. And just to be aware that any inappropriate written or verbal comment, including personal attacks, accusations, will result in the attendee being removed from the meeting. So we will give you a warning if it's appropriate to do so, and then if the behavior continues, we may have to remove participants. And so now would be a chance, if we've missed anything that you would like added to this list to ensure a productive meeting, please raise your hand or type in the Q&A window, and we can add that as part of tonight's meeting norms. I'll just pause briefly to see if there are any other suggestions. Seeing none, I think we can move ahead, Hillary. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Kayla. Just really briefly talking about expectations that you'll have for us. So after this meeting, we'll post meeting summaries to the park planning website, and we'll also email the participants who joined this meeting, where you provided your email address. And we really value you guys taking time out from your day. We know you're busy. Lots of us have lots of virtual meetings throughout the day, so we really value the feedback you provide, and it'll be taken into consideration as we make our design decisions moving forward. So to get to the main part of the project, what we're all here today to talk about, we're looking for your feedback on a few options for improving Bromley Park Playground. This is not a full playground renovation. We're just looking to do a few improvements to a few areas and pieces of equipment. The existing play equipment is in great shape. It's a little older, but it's still good. It's still functioning along with all the safety standards. So again, we had some funding available. There'd been a lot of feedback from the community that there was a desire to improve the playground. So while this is limited in scope, we do think that we can make a really big change to the playground and hopefully improve the experience of it. And so with the schedule, you may remember back in February, it seems like years ago, we had put out a survey to get your feedback and thoughts. We wanted to hear what you thought about the existing playground and your suggestions for ways to improve it. We received over 40 responses, so we really appreciate everyone's participation. And we reviewed those and incorporated those in coming up with these playground options you'll see today. This meeting was originally scheduled for March. It was the week that I think the shutdown happened. So it was delayed. We've all been kind of working through changes to all our projects and work. So we apologize that it took so long, but this project will move forward, and feedback from tonight's meeting is really important in helping us move this project forward and incorporate your decisions. So as of right now, because we're getting into the fall, construction will likely be not until spring of 2021, this coming spring. If there's any way we can get it done sooner, we will definitely look to do that, but that's the plan for right now. And so here I'm going to talk a little bit about the existing play equipment, and then I'll be talking through the first option for improving it, which is with more traditional play equipment, and then I'll be handing it over to Adam, who will talk through the natural play equipment option. So as you're probably all familiar, right now at your playground, you have the existing play structure, the existing swings. You have a lot of feedback. People like the swings. This piece of equipment is what we call a spinner. It's a rotating, spinning piece of equipment. This is the ladder. It's a little strange. Heard a lot of feedback that people wouldn't mind if we got rid of that. There's the iconic pony spring rider. It sounds like the ponies have been out there for a while, and I know there's a lot of associations between them and the playground. And then we have the existing sandbox, which is really more of an informal kind of sand pile currently. And so for the first option, the more traditional play equipment, some of the things we were looking at, given our budget, was possibly adding a toddler play structure. So this is something for younger kids, kind of 2 and under. This will allow, a safer place for them to play so that they're not sharing the existing play structure with some of the bigger kids. The other thing is we were looking at was possibly relocating the swings. So we would be adding new swings, formalizing the sandbox so that we actually add edging around it, add new sand to make that a better functioning environment. And then Harry the Hippo is kind of a combination of a tunnel and climber. This is something we have in some of the other parks, and it's well used by kids of a variety of ages. So next we're going to flip to kind of a map view of the playground. So this is a view of the existing playground as it is. So the swings, the play structure, the pony spring rider, the spinner, the ladder, and kind of your sandbox area. And so again, one thing we kind of looked at was possibly relocating the swings kind of up to where the sandbox is to allow more equipment to kind of go into this main part of the playground. So on the next page, this is again our first option. We would move the swings up to kind of where the existing sandbox is and kind of expand this area a little bigger. And so that allows us to kind of bring the sandbox down here, make that bigger, add the toddler play structure, add Harry the Hippo. And so then this becomes kind of almost like a younger child play area. And again, that kind of allows the play structure to maybe used by older kids who are a little bit more active. And then it also brings the swings out to a quieter area so that there's not as many conflicts there as well. And in addition to the play equipment, we also have room in our budget to add seating. We'd heard from a lot of parents that additional seating would be nice. So we looked at adding as many as 3 new benches, possibly 2 log seats, which are really kind of informal logs laying on the ground. So that is really kind of our first option here. So I'm going to pass it over now to Adam Furco, our other park planner, and he's going to walk you through the other option, which is looking at things through a natural playground lens.
Thank you, Hillary. Yeah, so natural playgrounds, so what we do is they're typically made of natural elements such as trees, stumps, logs, boulders, other natural materials, and they're placed together in a way that kind of creates fun opportunities for exploration and discovery and learning. It's not kind of the set play structure that you're used to. It allows children to kind of use their imagination. And studies have shown that kids enjoy the natural playgrounds more as it encourages active play and it leads to extended playtime compared to the traditional playground environment. And the way we set these up is still designed to meet all playground safety standards and accessibility. So that's not really going to be an issue with natural play or a downside to it. Hillary, do you want to go? Yeah, so what we're looking at for different structures or how this could be set up is what we on the left here, we have the clamber logs, and these are different logs that are kind of placed strategically to allow kids of all ages to use them as they see fit. There isn't a designed way to play with it. It's kind of, it allows them to be creative and climb over, climb under, run around. It's kind of just a canvas for them to play with. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a timber hut. It's a little more structured. It still uses the natural play elements of it. It's just like wood timbers that are placed in a structural way, which allows kids to play on them, in them, run around underneath of them. And then also we're looking at adding a sandbox similar to the other option, but we'd use a wood border and kind of really define that boundary a little bit more. And if you want to go to the next slide, Hillary, I can. So this is our standard playground as it exists now, back to that plan view. And then when we're talking about the natural play, what you see there on the top is we would expand the boundary of the playground a little bit to include this natural section. And so in this case, the swings, the spring rider, the play structure, they all remain where they're at, but we have this kind of new element to the playground. This would also include new seating. We've got a log seat that Hillary mentioned earlier, and we'd also add a bench up in the natural play area. And so at this point, we're kind of going to open it up to questions and discussions between the two options. Is just a real quick recap. On the left is the more traditional playground equipment. You've got the structure, the swings, Harry the hippo. On the right, you've got the natural clamber logs, the timber hut, and the sandbox. So we'd like to hear from you guys on questions and comments and anything you might want to talk about with it.
Thanks, Adam. So I'll do one more overview on the technology. It looks like we have one hand already raised, so I'll get to that shortly. So anyone who's interested in asking a question, as a reminder, you use the raise hand feature. So that should be across the bottom or top of your screen, depending on your device. And you'll click that raise hand button. It'll turn it to blue in color, and that indicates that your hand is raised. And that signals to me to announce your name, to enable you to speak and allow you to unmute yourself. You can also type in questions in the Q&A window, and I see we have one that's come in already there as well. So please type in your questions. You can check the box to send anonymously if you don't want your name associated with it. We won't announce names, but it will be visible to us as staff and the project team. But you do have the option to keep that anonymous. So with that, I'll go ahead. I'll take our first hand raise. So I do apologize that I'm likely going to mispronounce this. I'm going to spell it out as it appears to me.
Actually, it's Pravina Ramaswamy. She's one of our PAC members. So.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Hillary.
I'm trying to spell that out.
Wonderful. All right, Pravina, I have enabled you. You should be able to.
Yep, I think I'm unmuted.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks so much, and thank you, team, for this really great two options. I appreciate it. I think that you guys took a lot of feedback. I'd like to hear also what feedback is from the 40 respondents. I was wondering for the traditional one and the first one, I personally like that it's broken into segments. Could Harry the Hippo be a pony? Because it's called Pony Park. I also think that I really like the natural playground. In our neighborhood, we have a lot of walkable parks, and we have the Thurston Elementary, which has a large park, which has a lot of plastic and metal equipment. We also have Sugarbush Park. And so I'm thinking that having a natural feature would allow a different kind of play option for younger people. And in this park, where you have the sandbox and the natural logs, behind it is like a kind of a treed area. So for me, visually, it feels like you're in a treed area and a natural kind of cove on the back. And having the swings where they are right now, an option too, having the swings where they are. I know as a user of the swings, it has a really nice view of the park when you're on the swings. So from a usability standpoint, being on those swings and being able to see the entire field is a really nice view in comparison to being in the back and swinging towards looking at playground equipment. So that would be my two pieces of feedback, and thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks, Pravina. So Hillary, did you want to respond to some of Pravina's comments? I think in summary, a couple of the points I heard was interest in hearing the survey respondents. What did we hear from the 40 people? Interest in seeing the hippo be a pony instead to reflect the park name, and support for the natural play area to align with the surrounding area, and then also comment on the orientation of the swings.
Yeah, so as far as the existing equipment, I think there are others that mentioned, like you said, Pravina, the views of the park, the swings, the swings, the sandbox, we'd heard a lot of great things about. As far as new equipment, we did hear that there were a lot of younger children. I think we heard a couple requests for maybe a merry-go-round type structure. Since we already had one spinning element at the playground, that wasn't something we looked at as much because we felt like we had something that already did something like that. But if that was something people felt strongly about, we could look into. People mentioned something to climb on. I know Harry the Hippo is not super large, but these were kind of some of the smaller elements that fit within our budget. So, you know, the timber hut, the clamber logs, and the natural playground, I think those, you know, like Adam mentioned, I think those provide a lot of opportunities for kind of open-ended play. You can use them in a variety of ways. They're not quite as prescriptive as kind of the traditional, more plastic play equipment. So yeah, so I really appreciate all of your thoughts, Pravina. We'll take a few more questions from people. And then again, once we get through everyone's questions and comments, we'll have an opportunity to poll everyone on a few questions that we have.
All right, thank you, Hillary. First question from the Q&A window. What would the height be of the new swings? Would it be similar to the existing swings?
So a lot of the play equipment is governed by playground safety standards. So there's standards for lots of things. So swings would be one of them. Dan, our playground consultant, could probably chime in, but I would imagine that they'll be very similar to the existing height. One of the changes would be that the existing footprint of the swings kind of tee out, the posts kind of come out, and when we replace them, we would just do a single vertical post. So you can kind of see in the plans, they won't take up quite as much of a footprint. It would just be a single upright post.
Yeah, this is Dan. My recollection is that the existing swings would be are slightly higher by maybe a half a foot, maybe a foot higher than the new swings would be. The new swings would be set at 8 feet. And so the old ones, I think, are right around 9.
And Dan, can you confirm feet is kind of the standard?
Yeah, 8 foot is the standard, but there in the safety standards, there's no height limit for swings or anything else really on a playground. The only limiting factor is the impact attenuating surface. And whenever you have anything that's higher, you just have to match it with a surface that would meet the fall height criteria from whatever that elevated play surface is. So that makes sense. So you could have a 100-foot swing, but you'd have to have a surface down there that would meet all the safety criteria for that 100-foot fall.
Yeah. Well, we won't have
obviously that's extreme.
Yeah, great. Well, 8 feet, it will probably feel very similar to if the existing one's around 9 feet. So hopefully that answers that question.
All right, thanks, Hillary. The next question also about swings has to do with, can more swings be added, or is there a reason why more swings can't be added? This has always been a shortcoming because it's hard to have more than one family with only 2 normal swings and 2 toddler swings. So this is a limitation on the use.
Yeah, so one thing about swings, and I mentioned these playground safety standards, in this plan here, you can kind of see the stashed outline. So for every type of play equipment, there's what they call a safety zone for it, which is like a clear space that you need around that piece of equipment. Some things can be shared, but so for a swing, while it doesn't look that large, it actually requires quite a large area of clear space around it. So I think it's something we can look into. If we hear from a lot of people that they would like additional swings, it'll just expand the footprint even further. So we would have to kind of go out and look at the site to see if that's something that we could expand. So I think that's one of the limiting factors in how much space we have for swings, but definitely something we can look into.
Great, thank you, Hillary. I'll read a couple other comments regarding swings. There was a comment in support agreeing with what Pravina had said about the location of the swings. The view is enjoyed year after year. Otherwise, the alternate orientation would have you looking into someone's fence or backyard. So thank you for that comment. Another comment on the view, I believe in reference to the swings, it opened up the children's imagination with the way that they had, the view they had previously. So thank you for that comment as well. And now I'm going to take another question. This one is, how fixed are the climber logs and what is the relative durability of the more natural options? So I think that's with regard to the plan that Adam presented on.
Yeah. So Dan, maybe you can chime in here about how these are attached and.
Yeah, they're all fixed with typical stainless steel fasteners. Nothing's going to move. So they're all solid. As far as how long they will last, all the materials are naturally rot resistant. The natural logs are black locust. Black locust is used worldwide in natural place, mostly Europe. In Europe, it's what they farm black locust. It's actually native to the U.S., but they actually imported it and they grow it in plantations, primarily in Hungary, and they use it for playgrounds all over Europe. We also use white cedar, which is grown. So the logs are locally sourced and would be cut down, they're already being cut down. So these logs are being used as a second life. Otherwise they get turned into firewood generally. And then the white cedar is harvested from up in the UP. And we also use Western red cedar. None of that is on this design, but that's another material that's naturally rot resistant. And farmers, black locust is something that's used for fence posts. It's also used for, originally one of the uses was railroad ties, very dense, very, it's a long-lasting material that it does well in contact with earth, dirt, and they'll use it for fence posts. And farmers will brag that they have black locust fence posts that are 100 years old. So that's a pretty good testament to the longevity of the materials.
All right, thank you. So I have another comment that relates to the natural play areas. Someone commented, I love the natural play area option. I hope that will work out. Could we keep a pony spring rider, but update the pony to a newer designed pony so it's more bouncy and fun for ages 3 to 8? Also, could we add a new type of swing to replace one of the baby swings, which is a parent-toddler tandem swing? We're both swinging at the same time back and forth, so either kids or parents can propel the toddler. So I guess two questions there, one about the pony spring rider and one about that tandem swing.
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say the ponies now they come out of the same molds as the old ponies. They're the same ponies.
All
Yeah.
right.
So we could look at other animals if the pony wasn't working, but it sounds like, I know a lot of people like the pony or horse theme. So we could look at alternative spring riders if that was something that the neighborhood was interested in. Yeah, and I've seen this new type of swing, the parent toddler or parent baby facing swing. We've gotten a few comments. I remember there was a comment on the survey about that. That's something we've looked into. I know that those swings take up additional space, and Dan, you might be able to chime in here, but so I think that I want to stay in the space of like a normal bay of swings where we might have 2 swings. I think it takes up a similar area for that parent-child combination swing.
Yeah.
So it definitely takes up some additional space. Again, it's something we can kind of look into if people are interested in expanding the swing area.
Right. The parent-child swing there's only one per bay, so you would only get one of those in each bay. And a bay is about anywhere from 11 to 12 feet wide, depending on the manufacturer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so we can look at our budget and, based on everything we hear from everyone, there's some options we can kind of explore and look into a little bit more and see what might be possibilities.
All right, thank you for those 2 responses. Another comment that was related to the pony spring rider, which we talked about, was just a comment that is in support of those. The spring riders were very popular, and then it seems they're now down to 1. So that comment seems to support that feature. Another comment about the merry-go-round, that was heavily used and is missed. Thank you for making that comment. There's one regarding joining both options. So could there be an option to join the traditional play area and the natural play area? I imagine that option 2, the natural play area, is lower cost. Thought would be move the spinner was replaced by an older, larger merry-go-round and put the toddler play structure in that spot. So Hillary, is that clear to you what they're getting at there with the shifting some of the pieces around? Okay.
Yeah, and so I'd say from a lot of the playground meetings we've done previously, a lot of times it's not just one of the 2 options that move forward, but almost a hybrid of the 2. A lot of times we end up taking pieces from both. So I think there are options to use elements from the traditional playground and natural playground based on feedback we hear. So that's definitely an option. Moving the spinner and putting the play structure in that toddler play structure in that spot. Yes, we can look at shifting things around as well. And just so everyone knows, we will have a record of your comments, so we'll be able to go back through those and look into those. Yes, so we can kind of look at shifting things around. Again, where play equipment is located on the plans is based on these outlines, which are the playground safety zones that each of them has. It's kind of like a fall zone, if you will. So whenever we go to move those into places, we need to make sure that there's not other things that they're conflicting with. Here we only have the outlines for the new equipment shown, but the existing equipment, you can kind of imagine kind of an offset line around those as well. So that's kind of the puzzle piece as we decide where equipment goes in the playground.
All right, thank you, Hillary. This comment says, can we expand into the grass area above the playground? I think that may have come in when we were talking about additional swing sets and the space needed for the footprint. So I believe that that's in regard to that. And I know you've noted you can look into different space that's available. So if there's anything to add, please do.
Yeah, I'll have to go back out there and look at the grade. I know there are some grade changes out there. So the short answer is yes, we can look into that. I know it looks easy. There are some costs associated with expanding the footprint of the playground. It doesn't seem like a lot, but there is edging. So kind of like how there is along the sandbox, there's edging, there's the fiber wood chips. So, and it's additional area to excavate. So while we can look to expand it if needed, there is a cost associated with that. So yeah, we can definitely explore that option.
Great, thank you, Hillary. This comment says, if option 2 proceeds, perhaps consider how it can mimic the neighboring Thurston Nature Center. Natural space is welcome in the neighborhood, is welcoming in the neighborhood.
Great, yeah, we can definitely do that.
Great, all right, thank you. A comment related to the ponies. We had vintage ponies made of metal from the 1960s. Those were replaced with the current one, which is noted as tighter and a bit creepy to some. We missed the 2 ponies, and that's provided for historical reference. So thank you for that. Always good to know the history.
Yeah.
Can we consider connecting the 2 paths from the east and west? Bikers, skaters, and walkers, especially in the wet weather and snow weather. Is that something?
Yes. Yeah, so you're talking about the path that leads to Sheffield Court and the path that kind of goes through the main part of the park to Briarcliff Street, connecting those 2. So that's something we can definitely look into. The reason it's not included as part of this is just the cost associated with concrete walks, even asphalt pathways. It really adds a lot of cost to this project, so that would mean taking out some of the play equipment. So there's just a kind of a trade-off there. I think it's something that we could look into, but we're kind of trying to emphasize the play value of the improvements. So I'll talk to Dan. We'll get some costs and see what that might look like and if it's something reasonable that we could roll into the project budget or not. But I'm reluctant to commit to it just because of the trade-offs with the other play equipment.
Great. Thank you, Hillary. This comment ties into one we just addressed. I believe it's a clarification about the one that talked about extending into the grassy area. And so it says not just the swing sets, but the playground as a whole, especially if the hybrid is done, maybe the natural design by the grassy area, the overall playground could be expanded. So thank you for that clarifying comment. That helps. Yes, thank you. And could the grading hill area on the west of the playground add rocks as seating? Hillary, we are not, you're muted right now.
Yeah.
Darn. Okay, so I know that this map is not traditionally oriented with north is up. So north is to the left. So the west area they're talking about is kind of at the bottom here, where we do have a big slope in the grass down to the playground. So one of the reasons that we're citing a lot of the new seating kind of within the wood chipped area is just to avoid things that the park field crew that goes out there and mows have to mow around. So we could look into adding boulders. It's just something that we would have to look at spacing so that they can still get their mowing equipment around. Just creates additional obstacles that they might have to do trim mowing. So that's why traditionally in a lot of our parks, we look to have benches either within the playground area or within concrete pads so that the area below it is concrete and it doesn't, require additional mowing. So I guess, maybe a question back to the group would be whether benches kind of sited within the play area would be sufficient. So hopefully that answered that question.
Thank you. I think that probably helped. And another question is, this is, I believe, related to one we talked about with the paths. This reads, could the paths be connected so you don't have to go through the playground to get from Briarcliff to Sheffield, hard with a stroller especially? So is that the same path area you were talking about, Hillary? You said we could possibly connect them. It does add a lot of cost to do that concrete work or that asphalt work.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I see what they're saying rather than connecting the paths through the playground. Yeah, and again, we can look at that, and it's a good reminder that there is a lot of existing slope around here, so that could make it a little bit more expensive. So yes, we can look at if there's a way to add sidewalk through there. And again, it can be something that we put in our capital improvement plan and maybe look to do when we upgrade paths at some of the other parks and do it all at once, so that it doesn't detract from the playground improvements budget. But yes, that's something we can definitely look into.
Great, thank you. Could an additional bench or log seat be added near the existing swings in option 2?
Sure, definitely. So it looks like we have one existing bench kind of just west of the existing play structure. We had placed a new one up near, I guess, more of the natural playground area. But yes, we could look to maybe move one closer to the swings. We do have the new log seat kind of in this area. Maybe that could be worked up there further. So yeah, we can look to move benches around. Another consideration might be where shade's located as well. People often like to sit in a shady spot. So I believe there's an existing tree kind of on this side, maybe in another bench near the swings, but within the shade of the tree might be another option to look at.
Great. Thank you. So that takes care of all of the questions that had come in through the Q&A, and I don't see any other hands raised. I know we also have a polling activity to get to where we can present some questions that you'll be able to respond to on the screen in front of you. Before we do that, I just want to pause here and give anyone else who wants to ask a question a chance to do that, and then after the poll, we can go back into questions as well. And Hillary, Adam, Dan, feel free to chime in if there's anything else you wanted to add based on that Q&A that we just addressed.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone's thoughtful questions and comments. Definitely great feedback to hear.
All right, Hillary, would you like me to go ahead and launch the poll then?
Yes, do we need to go through the overview before the poll?
Yeah, let's go through this overview. So, once I launch the poll, there will be a poll will pop up on the screen in front of you that will show that there is an active poll taking place. You will click the option that represents the answer that you want to submit, and then click at the bottom the blue submit button. Depending on this may look slightly different depending on what type of device you're using, a smartphone, tablet, or laptop, or even desktop. However, it should appear once I launch the poll. It should be on the screen in front of you. If you are not seeing that, please use the raise hand feature that we discussed previously, and I can help try to help with troubleshooting how to get you to the poll. So I'm going to go ahead and select that poll. We've got the playground poll. It is being launched. So you should now see that on the screen in front of you. It has 3 questions. You'll scroll down to see all 3 questions and then submit at the very bottom once you've responded. And the first question you should see, do you prefer the option of adding natural playground equipment or using traditional playground equipment? So there's the option of natural, traditional, or other. And let me take this. We have one hand that's been raised, so I'll take that question before I read the other questions on the poll. So Sandra, you have been enabled. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi there.
Hi.
I don't know if you can see me or not, but I'm unmuted. So it's just because I thought that was, I don't know, somebody brought up, well, why not have a hybrid, which I like because I love the little, I can't remember what it was called, the schoolhouse or wherever the kids sit in, and there actually is a one of those little school book things there, having that. So somebody mentioned in this meeting about the hybrid. I'm sure you designed the poll before that. So it's like, I like the hybrid, I really do. I also feel like neighbors can add on to that natural playground, maybe raise, I don't fundraise it or just do things like, I don't know who put the little stumps in for kids to sit on. A lot of neighbors, Pravina obviously has done a lot of lead on that, if not all of it. So anyway, I just wanted to put in my 2 cents because it's like, I don't really want to answer, what I want isn't on there, or do you just other?
Yeah, that would be other actually, Sandra, and thank you for raising that. We talked a little about that in advance, and some of the different options, we acknowledge that there could be a hybrid potential, or maybe there's something we haven't thought of that folks would want to request. So we thought to keep it simple, we'd put other and then give people the chance to explain themselves, which you jumped in and did, which is great. So
thank you.
I'd encourage you to complete the poll and choose other, and we'll make note in the feedback summary about this comment specific to supporting the hybrid option.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll just, let me finish reading those questions. I covered the first one and some responses have come in, so I think you've got the hang of it, but I'll go ahead and read through these. Question number two is, what proposed play elements do you like the most? So you're asked to choose 3, and those options are natural timber hut, natural clamber logs, sandbox, Harry the Hippo, toddler fun center, or relocated swings. And the third question is, what type of seating would you prefer? Bench, log seat, or picnic table? And just try to choose which one you most prefer if you're in a situation of having a hard time weighing the different options. So we have received responses from most of the meeting participants. It looks like one new participant has just joined. So I will just, since we do still have a bit of time in the meeting, I want to pause to give them a chance to respond. So Trisha, I believe it looks like is the name of the newest participant. If you are seeing the poll in front of you on your screen, you should be able to fill that out. I realize you didn't have the benefit of seeing the presentation, but those options, the traditional playground and natural playground plan views, are on the screen as well. And thank you. It looks like responses have come in. from all of our attendees, and I'm going to close the poll, and I will share the results just to cover those with the group. You should be seeing the results of the poll on the screen in front of you. And this is a poll that is not a decision-making item, but this helps inform the project team as they debrief from this meeting and talk about next steps. So the feedback that we received on the preferences for, do you prefer a natural playground, traditional playground, or other, which likely would be that hybrid option that Sandra explained. But we do have 5 in favor, so 83% of the respondents in favor of a natural playground and 17% in favor of other, so hybrid. And number 2, what proposed play elements do you like the most? 83% favored the natural timber hut, 67% favored the natural clamber logs, 50% favored the sandbox. You'll notice these don't add up to 100% given that you are allowed to choose 3 options, but hopefully it does give you a where they fall relative to each other. So again, that was 50% for sandbox, 33% for Harry the Hippo, 17% toddler fun center, and 17% relocated swings. So our top 3 there, again, that was natural timber hut, natural clamber logs, and sandbox. What type of seating would you prefer? And the most preferred was log seat with 50% support. The bench seating got 33% support, and picnic tables 17%. So thank you for that feedback. Hillary, Adam, Dan, do you want to chime in with any other comments on those poll results or move back into Q&A?
Yeah, I think from the poll results and the comments, it's clear to see there's a strong interest in incorporating natural playground features. So that's great to see. So I think as we look to move forward with an option, we'll look to incorporate those and see if we're able, budget-wise, to also add elements from the traditional playground as well. I know we've had a lot of opportunities for questions and comments here. We can open it up if there's any more. I'll also be including my contact information at the end. So if you have any additional thoughts or would like to discuss things further, you're always welcome to email me or give me a call, and I'm happy to discuss these options with you further. So yeah, so I think, thank you everyone for providing input. We really appreciate it. We know you guys are out there using these parks and the playgrounds, and these places better than anyone, and we appreciate hearing from you and want to make sure that these improvements are something that you enjoy and that work for you and your families. So let's see here. We did our polling. We just wanted to touch really briefly on our Adopt a Park program. So because here in Ann Arbor, we have so many park properties, we have over 160 different park properties. It's a lot to manage and a lot to maintain, and we can't be in all parks at all times. So we do rely a lot on our citizens, our community members, to let us know what's going on in parks, and also to come up with ideas for things they want to see, improvements. And then there's also opportunities to get involved, to volunteer to help maintain these places or put in an improvement project. So if anyone's interested, our Adopt a Park program can connect you. Melissa is our Adopt a Park coordinator. I know she's been working with many of the neighbors out near Bromley. But you can reach her. Her contact information is listed. adoptapark@hugov.org is the email, and phone number as well. So just wanted to make a plug if anyone's interested in getting involved. And with that, again, my contact information is listed here. So feel free to follow up with email or give me a call if anything else comes to mind. And yes, we know everyone's really busy, and we appreciate everyone taking time out from their schedules to join us and provide feedback. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Hillary. And we do have a couple of additional questions coming in. So we're going to do 2 things right now. I'm going to relaunch the demographic questionnaire. This was available at the very start of the meeting for anyone who was already in the meeting before we kicked off at 7. And if you've already responded, you do not need to respond again, but just 1 response per participant is appreciated. This is an optional anonymous demographic questionnaire. It just helps the city get an idea of who's participating in our public meetings so that we can have a better understanding of who we're not reaching and support more inclusive engagement in the future. So that's on the poll. Should be available on the screen in front of you, and you can fill that out as we wrap up. But in these last 10 minutes, we'll hit a few more questions. So there's a comment here about seating that the park stewards added. They put tree stumps under the existing tree. So thank you for sharing that comment.
That reading nook, I think someone mentioned there's a little reading nook kind of off to the side from the playground. So that was park stewards, part of our adaptive park program that put that in. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Another comment or question, I guess, since the toddler structure, the support for that was low, perhaps expanding the swings in the current space and keeping the natural option in the back. So that's something the team can think about. Hillary, you are on mute, but if you had anything to add, please do.
Yes, appreciate the comment. So looking at expanding the swings kind of in the current, their current location. I know there was a lot of comments about the views to the rest of the park. We can look into this. It might be a little tight again with the kind of space for that safety zone we need around the swings. So we'll look into that. And it sounds like there is a lot of support for the natural option and its proposed location in the back of the playground.
All right, thank you. And Hillary or Adam, could one of you talk about the timeline for the renovation and whether or not the existing equipment would be closed during construction?
Yeah, so, you know, because of frost coming up, we'd probably be looking to do it in the spring. You know, I'd imagine maybe April would probably be the earliest that we would be out there. You know, these are pretty minor improvements, so I'm going to toss out, and Dan, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I guess it wouldn't be very long construction timeline, maybe somewhere around 3-4 weeks. Dan?
Yeah, right. That's about right.
Yeah.
Probably two weeks would be probably pretty comfortable.
Okay.
Weather permitting, again, if we get bad weather in the spring or if we're, you know, whenever, it's 2 to 3 weeks, I think it's comfortable.
Yeah, and I would imagine that we would be closing the equipment around the area we're working in. You know, if it ends up that most of the playground is not being touched and it's more this area in the back, we might be able to fence it off or keep the rest of the playground open while we're just working that area. We'll just have to work through those things and see what kind of equipment and access we need to get in there. So we definitely try to minimize our impact so that it's not closed for very long.
Yep, that's exactly right. And where we could keep a portion of the playground open, we put construction fencing around that, which we're working in. And yeah.
All right, thank you for that information. Please reach out to me if there's interest in helping Bromley Park adopters for 13 years. So thank you. That is always helpful to have volunteers, and we appreciate that. We also have a thank you again. My kids loved the natural feature play area in the botanical gardens. So thank you for that feedback. A question, if we do the natural elements, would the existing structure stay? So,
yeah, great question. I know it's a little hard to see on this plan. It can be a little small. So the natural play equipment would be going in the area where that blue ladder structure would be removed and where the existing sandbox is. So it's kind of on the far east end of the park. So yes, the existing swings, pony spring rider, existing play structure, spinner would all be staying in place in the rest of the park. So that traditional play equipment would stay.
Great, thank you, Hillary. That completes all of the questions we have. We do have 5 more minutes left in the meeting. If there are any other questions or anyone wanted to share a comment, you could raise your hand to do so or type it into the Q&A, and we'll hang on a little longer and see if any other questions come in. I will also note that you likely provided an email address when you joined the meeting tonight. So those email addresses will be added to the email distribution list to receive updates through the Parks Gov Delivery, which is our email subscription service. If you have a different email address than what you provided when you entered the meeting and that you would like added, you can submit that in the Q&A window. We will keep that just for our records. That won't be made public in the Q&A panel that you're viewing. Or if you provided an email address upon entry and you specifically do not want to be added to the distribution list, please let us know that as well. We'd be happy to observe that. Seeing no other comments or questions coming in, I think that we can go ahead and close the meeting. I'll turn it over to you, Hillary, to wrap us up.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you everyone for providing input. Again, we have a record of all the questions and comments that were added, so we'll be reviewing those. We'll hope to get meeting summary and kind of direction where we're planning to move forward posted in the next couple of weeks. So we'll be following up to let you guys know our plan, and we'll keep you abreast of construction schedule when we head into the spring. So thank you all for taking this time and to provide input. We really appreciate it. All right.
Have a good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.